If I asked you where the world's oldest skyscrapers are, what would you say? New York City? Or maybe even Chicago? Try Yemen. This is Sheba, Yemen, and it's known as the Manhattan of the desert. These mud brick homes have been around since the 16th century and range from 5 stories to 11 stories tall. They housed many merchants and kings during the trade routes in southern Arabia. The homes have been built very close together to act as a defensive wall against attacks by Bedouin tribes. Another advantage of building them close together is that it creates shade for the civilians to avoid the intense desert heat. The ground floors have been used to store grain as well as livestock, while the top floors were used for socializing. The bricks generally get smaller as you get to the higher floors, which gives it a trapezoid shape. Walls are thinner on the higher floors to reduce pressure on the lower floors, making the building more stable. There are even bridges and corridors that connect different houses to each other. Wooden window frames are also carved in an arch shape into the mud brick buildings. This city is a UNESCO World Heritage Site under danger. Floods and war have threatened it, and we must preserve its history as best as we can.
2 hours north of here, you'll find a settlement called Sheba, which is known as the world's oldest skyscraper city.
Shabam! This is what we call Manhattan of the desert.
In Sheba, you'll find about 500 tall and ancient mud brick towers. It's really amazing, like these buildings are so tall.
And it's 650 years old, and instead of the tents, the first houses that the Bedouin choose to build, it was in Sheba. 7 floors.
It's so cool to be here in this moment right now. I'm not trying to trick you or lie to you by telling you how incredible Yemen is. I'm just being honest.
خذها بس مني عشان تعيش متهني تعاف الحب ودروبه ولا تتعب وتتعبني كفاية اللي جرى منه طلبتك وابتعد عنه وعيش أيامك براحة بدون دنيتك جنة نصيحة خذها بس مني عشان
The House on the Rock, Dar al-Hajar. Here's the scene. 1978. Exterior, Wadi Dhahar, Yemen. Valley with a village at the bottom. Daytime. I've always loved rocks and stones. I feel a closeness, an affinity for rocks. Sturdy, permanent, steady, unchanging, lasting, immovable. There I was, 6 years old, living in a distant country, Yemen. It was a big country with many unknowns to us, and we had to venture out and see what else was there. As a kid, no matter where you are in the world, nothing is better than the simple pleasure of playing with rocks. I enjoyed the rocky hillsides and mountains of Yemen the most. Old stone castles, buttes, and the terraces galore. Wow. They highlighted the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the Yemeni farmers. Much of this green terrain reminded my family of what we left behind in eastern Oregon. My parents working as school teachers in the international school. This was a day to explore. Our family of 5 on the country hillsides climbing, hiking, scorpions, heat, the shepherd's huts, building forts, and then there was the wonder of Wadi Dhahar. One of the most amazing places I remember. Maybe I've built it up over the years in my mind, or maybe it was just simply magical. A wadi in Arabic is a valley. As we entered the valley, in our old Land Rover, it stretched for miles. In it was a small town. There were high rock formations and hills on both sides that closed us in. We were introduced to the residents who seemed used to visitors coming in to see their quaint hometown. The children welcomed us by waving, smiling, running up and jumping onto the back of the vehicle, while others just ran after us, laughing and playing. The kids made curious remarks about my eyeglasses. I must have looked strange to them, but I was too busy taking it all in, the new sights and sounds, to be offended. And then there it was, right in the middle of this lush green valley, beside a stream, towered a huge rock with a chiseled house right on the top. Literally a uniquely wondrous mansion set on top of a massive stone. We were in awe. Who could have constructed such a structure? The multi-layered mansion was very impressive, but on this first visit, we were not allowed inside it, since a local imam inhabited it. Years later, it would become more of a tourist attraction and even a museum. The mansion was constructed in the 1920s as a summer retreat for Yahya Muhammad Hamid ad-Din, ruler of Yemen from 1904 to 1948. It sits on top of a structure built in 1786 for the scholar Al-Imam Mansour. This palace has become something of a national symbol of the strength of the Yemeni people. As avid readers of the Bible, we were very familiar with the popular parable that Jesus the Messiah tells of the house on the rock. This really brought that story to life in my mind. At the bottom of a valley where the floodwaters rush in the midst of a storm, a wise, resourceful man had built this house on top of a rock on the high ground, a firm foundation of solid, immovable stone. The houses below would be much more vulnerable and subject to water destruction on the movable sandy soil built by men less wise. The house on the rock, Dar al-Hajar, is truly an inspiring symbol of the Yemeni spirit, which continues to endure the floodwaters of life that can be so destructive and overwhelming. As I reflect back on that amazing day in Wadi Dhahar, it causes me to pray for the Yemeni people. I long for them a firm foundation and a bright future filled with wisdom and insight for another generation.